how to stop cravings without having to completely give up your favorite foods. Do your cravings feel completely out of control? So it feels like someone is commanding you that you have to eat it, and if you don't, then something terrible is going to happen. I used to have these cravings that I just felt like I couldn't not say yes to. Especially in the afternoon, I'd get sugar cravings and I would need to eat that food, or in the evening, even after dinner, eating, even though I'd had a perfectly balanced meal, still needing to eat more and more on top of that. So if this sounds familiar, you're not alone. I'm going to share with you how you can manage and understand these cravings so you can stop feeling powerless to them. So there are two types of cravings. There are physical cravings, when our body is physically hungry and we want to eat something. And you'll recognize this as physical symptoms in the body. Maybe your mouth watering, tummy gurgling, you might even feel a bit faint. And then there's emotional cravings, which are the cravings that most of us have issues with, because this is from an emotional state in our body. It's created by the emotional state. We're not physically hungry. We don't actually need to eat anymore, but yet we still want to eat, and it ends up emotional eating. And this craving is different because you will probably not notice physical symptoms, but you will notice the urgency of it, and you will be able to tell the difference as well with the types of food that you're wanting. So if you have a physical craving, then all the foods that you enjoy eating will feel desirable, that you'll want them. Could be a sandwich, could be a salad, could be pasta, could be anything. You're like, oh yeah, I'm hungry, I want to eat something. An emotional craving is very specific usually. It's a specific craving for something because you're wanting that specific thing to comfort yourself, to avoid the emotion that you're trying to not feel. And the sense of urgency. So if you imagined a physical craving, be more like, hey, it's time to eat, like in your ear. The emotional craving is going to be more like, it's time to eat, we need to eat this, and it's more urgent, and it might feel like there's a drill sergeant in your mind, or it might feel like there's a tantruming toddler in your mind telling you it's time to eat. So there are the two differences, and it's worth noting when you have a craving, trying to figure out what's happening. Is it a physical one or an emotional one? Now, so often, if you're like my clients and me in the past, you have dieted a lot, tried to stick to a diet plan or healthy eating, and unfortunately this deprivation will have created more desire for foods that you're trying to avoid. And people that have never had a problem with food or issues with overeating, obsessing about food, have less cravings. You might know those people, you might study them. I used to watch people that would just be able to eat one square of dark chocolate and then put the bar away. What are you doing? How can you do this? Or there's you're at a social thing and there's a bowl of chips or crisps in front of you, and they just kind of pick one or two, and then they can continue with the conversation without being drawn all the time to trying to resist the food in front of them. I just study these people, fascinated. Like, how are you doing this? All I can think about is the food in front of me and how I'm desperately trying not to eat it. So how can you have this peaceful, ignorant relationship to this food? And now I understand. They never had an issue with food. They never started using food in a way that maybe me and you did, where we tried to control our food and we tried to stop ourselves from overeating. And in this, we created more of a desire and more cravings for the foods that we're trying to avoid. And so we got ourselves into this cycle by no fault of our own, and then we now need to get ourselves out of this cycle. And what isn't helpful is dieting, controlling, more restriction, because that's what got us into this in the first place, and it's not going to get us out of it. So we need to do something different. So the first thing is telling ourselves we have permission to eat these foods. And I know that might sound scary. Sometimes my clients are like, what? I can't give myself permission to eat these foods because if I do, I'll go crazy. You might initially, but you won't keep doing that, okay? When you give yourself permission to eat everything that you're trying to avoid, you might notice that in the beginning, yes, you start to go a bit crazy because it's that rebellion. Finally, I'm allowed to do it. But then you get to a point where you don't want to do that anymore. The rebel's satisfied. The rebel's like, yeah, good, cool. I've had all the foods I said I couldn't. Now I just feel sick. I don't feel very good. What's next? What's next is understanding balance. So you've given yourself permission, and now you want to understand balance, balancing your meals with gentle nutrition, understanding what it is your body needs. Also, creating emotional balance in our system. So like I said, it's often an emotional state that creates the craving. And so if we want to stop using food to relieve the emotional state, whether that's overwhelm, stress, tiredness, loneliness, restlessness, boredom, sadness, grief, whatever it is, if we want to stop using food as comfort in that way, then working on ways to support our emotional health are so important in this process. And for every person this is different, but what's worked for my clients is daily meditation, journaling, somatic movement, so moving the energy, the emotion out of our body, dancing to your favorite song, taking a walk in nature, different breath that we can do to release. You can do this alone, you can go to different sessions, and what else? Emotional freedom techniques work for some of my clients. There are so many tools that you can discover and see what works for you, and of course it's different for every person, so these are just suggestions, and figuring out your way is what's important. The one thing I will say is movement. When we move our body, we get the emotion to come to the surface and come out, and that's where movement is so vital as a daily practice alongside trying to change our eating habits and relationship to food and stop cravings. Another thing to do is to stop labeling in your mind foods that are good and bad, because often what I notice with my clients is when they've labeled things as treats or good or bad, it just naturally creates more desire for them, and we want to move away from that and start seeing food as neutral. So if you've been saying that like chocolate or something is a treat, and that labeling it a treat makes you want it more, what else is a treat for your body? So last night, instead of having chocolate or something, I drank delicious fresh mint tea before bed to help digestion, and it genuinely felt like a treat for my body, more so than eating a cake. It was a treat. It was a gift for my body to help aid digestion as I was sleeping, so I could wake up feeling more energized this morning. So thinking about how you're labeling things is so important, because you might accidentally be creating more of an urge for a food that you don't really want to crave anymore. To finish up this video, instead of trying to control and have so much of a grip around your craving, start to build trust with yourself. So once you've given yourself permission, once you've worked on nutrition and balancing your meals, so perhaps a craving isn't as strong, you've worked on the emotional well-being and you're supporting yourself in that way, you will be building this trust with yourself. And when you have trust, you won't need control. I don't need to control. I can have my favorite foods just a few meters over there and not feel any desire to go and get them every day. Because I have trust, because I've diminished my cravings, because I've changed the way I think about food and the way I treat my body. And I would love to support you to do the same. I have a 90 days to food freedom program. That's a one-to-one program where we work specifically on your relationship to food and using the tools that work for myself, that work for my clients, to get you to a place where you don't have this powerless feeling anymore to cravings. They're just not there anymore, and you start to see and feel the results that you really want. If you're interested, you can book a 20-minute call with me for free so we can talk about it and just go from there. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.